A story about a spirited, razor-sharp actress who once stole the show on a top-rated sitcom for over a decade. That's Conchata Ferrell for you, a remarkable actress who brought humor, warmth, and grit to every role she played, delighting audiences in ways only someone with her singular energy could achieve. While many recall her as the sassy, quick-witted housekeeper Berta from 2.5 Men, the legacy she left behind goes far beyond one beloved character. She was a woman who started off in West Virginia, dabbled in all sorts of odd jobs, found her passion in theater, and never looked back. Conchata Ferrell was born on March 28, 1943, in Loudondale, West Virginia. You might be tempted to imagine an idyllic rural American setting, rolling hills, winding rivers, and the small-town warmth that seeps into your bones. In fact, much of her childhood took place in Charleston, West Virginia, a city that, while not a colossal metropolis, offered enough hustle and bustle to spark creative impulses in a young dreamer. Her mother was Mescal Lorraine, née George, and her father, Luther Martin Ferrell. Names that conjure images of strong American roots. These were the folks who raised Conchata in an environment of traditional values, likely peppered with hearty Appalachian hospitality. However, as life so often does, it threw in a twist. The family moved from Charleston over to Circleville, Ohio. This shift might have felt dramatic for young Conchata. New friends, new school, a new sense of place. But that's the thing about big personalities like hers. They adapt, and they find pockets of creativity wherever they go. She initially attended West Virginia University for 2 years. Now picture an 18-year-old Conchata, maybe a little uncertain about her future, walking through campus in the 1960s. There's an undeniable cultural wave happening. Music is changing, social movements are shaking up the country, and the idea of becoming a performer or an artist has a thrilling rebelliousness to it. She, however, didn't complete that first college run. Instead, she stepped away, took on various jobs, perhaps mingled with some of the era's carefree vibes, and eventually decided to finish a bachelor's degree in history education at Marshall University. The comedic side of the story, I'm going to be a beloved comedic actress someday. Instead, the bug bites, the inspiration hits, and next thing you know, you're center stage. For Conchata, that inspiration came during her time at Marshall University. In 1969, she had her first big stage appearance in a comedic revue called The Barfanon Revue. Imagine a spirited collegiate environment, bright lights, maybe some edgy sketches, students cheering from the makeshift auditorium seats, and there's Conchata reveling in the communal laughter and applause. That moment, when you feel the energy of an audience responding to your performance, can be life-changing. It certainly was for her. She felt that spark, that sense of, hey, I'm good at this and it's making people happy. That would be the beginning of a multi-decade career in performance. Now, let's jump forward to the late 1960s and early 1970s, when Ferrell really started charting her path in theater. Her spirit took her to New York, the grand mecca for aspiring stage actors. But she didn't just waltz onto Broadway. Instead, she joined the Circle Repertory Company, a well-respected off-Broadway theater that launched many careers and was known for its innovative, sometimes experimental productions. It was there that she first gained legitimate recognition for her theatrical prowess. Lanford Wilson's play, The Hot L Baltimore, written around 1973, would be the prime catalyst. She played April Green, and apparently her performance was so riveting, it garnered her the esteemed Obie Award. If you're not familiar with the Obies, they're basically the Oscars for off-Broadway theater, an acknowledgement that, hey, you absolutely killed it out there. But Ferrell didn't stop at just one. The following year, She played Gertrude Bloom in The Seahorse and took home a Drama Desk Award, a Theater World Award, and yet another Obie. That's right, she was collecting accolades, like some people collect vinyl records. It was these performances that showcased her knack for blending comedic timing with raw emotion. She had a clarity and realism about her that felt honest. Audiences believed her. She could deliver a line that cracked you up, only for you to realize a moment later that there was heartbreak or depth beneath it. The success in theater naturally turned Hollywood's head. Producers and casting directors probably noticed this dynamic actress who had proven her comedic skills in roles that also demanded dramatic heft. So, when The Hot L Baltimore was adapted into a short-lived sitcom in 1975, she joined the cast. It only lasted 13 episodes, but for Ferrell, it was a breakthrough moment on television. The pivot that said, you can do theater, yes, but you can also do TV. The show's run might have been brief, but it was enough to put a shiny circle around her name in the minds of industry folks. She's comedic gold. She's real. She's got that grounded presence. Keep an eye on her. The late 1970s found her popping up in a bunch of different TV appearances, mostly as guest roles or recurring characters. Her comedic style was anything but cookie cutter. At a time when TV often showcased a certain type of female character, ladylike, polished, or playing the hapless housewife, Ferrell's vibe was refreshingly no-nonsense. She exuded this authenticity and warmth that made you believe there was a real person behind those lines. And that was in an era when television risked falling into a formulaic trap. Around 1979, she was in BJ and the Bear, which might not be a show you see on rerun marathons these days, but it became a sweet turning point in her life for an entirely different reason. That's where she met Arnie Anderson, a sound engineer. Picture the behind-the-scenes hustle. He's checking sound levels, she's delivering lines, and somewhere amidst the chaos, sparks fly. By 1986, they sealed the deal and got married, forging a partnership that would last decades. It's always fascinating to imagine how on-set romances brew. Maybe it's the adrenaline of production, or maybe they were both just in the right place at the right time. The union gave them a daughter, Samantha, born in 1982, and made Conchata step into the role of mother and stepmother to Anderson's children from his previous relationship. It was a patchwork family reminiscent of many 1980s blended households. Meanwhile, on the career side, she was hitting TV shows left and right. Think of Maude, which ran from 1974 to 1978. She popped up there, flexing her comedic muscle in an environment that was already top-tier comedic real estate. Or Good Times in 1977, another comedic gem. Then in 1979, that BJ and the Bear cameo, followed by a recurring role on Knots Landing in 1982. If you're seeing a pattern, it's that Conchata was becoming a go-to for both comedic and dramatic roles on television. She had this knack for playing the wisecracking type, but could pivot to sincere vulnerability in a heartbeat. That's a skill that's far rarer than one might think. Let's talk film. Her first on-screen film role was a small appearance in Network, 1976. What a film to debut in. Network is that Sidney Lumet classic that skewered the TV industry with a satirical edge. Perhaps it was a foreshadowing of her future comedic skill set, that ability to hint at satire while staying within the bounds of realism. Como em 1988, ela fez um impacto mais duradouro no cinema com Pizza Mística. Este foi o filme que apresentou o mundo a uma jovem Julia Roberts, mas também deu a Conchata Ferrell uma chance de brilhar como Leona, a proprietária do parque de diversões, mãe e coração quente. It's always fun to see how that comedic instinct translated to a film that was equal parts romance, drama, and slice-of-life comedy. She was that stable anchor in a movie about friendships, love, and the complexities of small-town life. By 1990, Tim Burton had her pegged for Edward Scissorhands, a modern fairy tale with a gothic vibe. She took on the role of Helen, one of the curious suburban neighbors, and even though it wasn't a massive part, she made it memorable by infusing a sense of comedic exasperation into that pastel-hued world. The early 1990s were about to bring yet another highlight to her resume, a big recurring role on L.A. Law. From 1991 to 1992, she played Susan Bloom, a tough-as-nails lawyer who didn't mince words. That performance earned her an Emmy nomination in 1992 for Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Drama Series. It's not often that comedic actors transition so smoothly into more serious fare and get recognized at that level. In L.A. Law, she still had comedic undertones. Any role she played inevitably had that Conchata comedic spark. But at the core, this was a dramatic show about lawyers, backroom deals, and personal entanglements. She held her own among a cast stacked with top talent, showing off that her comedic chops were just one weapon in her arsenal. After that, there was True Romance in 1993, an off-kilter Quentin Tarantino-penned flick with loads of eccentric characters. Ferrell's cameo as Mary might not be the first name you recall, but it's another example of how she consistently popped up in iconic productions, always adding a layer of groundedness or whimsy. Then came a fascinating cameo-laden era, small bursts of her comedic genius in shows ranging from Friends to Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Imagine the 2001-2002 comedic television landscape. Friends was king of the sitcom hill, and Sabrina was a teen-oriented comedic fantasy. Placing Ferrell in these shows was like sprinkling comedic gold dust into episodes that needed a jolt of character flavor. She could serve up a line in that trademark wise and slightly sarcastic tone, and you'd instantly believe she was that character, however small the role might have been. Then we hit 2000, and Ferrell stepped into Erin Brockovich, that movie with Julia Roberts playing a scrappy single mom who takes on a major corporation for water contamination. Conchata was Brenda, a staffer at the law firm. This part wasn't enormous, but it plugged her into another high-profile project that showcased how seamlessly she fit into strong ensemble casts. She followed that with K-Pax, 2001, opposite Kevin Spacey and Jeff Bridges, playing Betty McAllister in a story about a man who may or may not be an alien from a faraway planet. These roles all helped shape her reputation in Hollywood as the go-to character actress who quietly, but effectively, steals scenes with comedic timing and heartfelt authenticity. But the career-defining role was about to land in her lap in 2003, Berta, the brazen housekeeper on 2.5 Men. This is where the legend truly solidified. When the show started on CBS, it was intended that Berta would appear in only a couple of episodes, a minor role. But guess what? She showed up, soared through her scenes, volleyed comedic banter right back at Charlie Sheen and John Cryer, and the audience ate it up. The writers recognized they had lightning in a bottle. So Berta stuck around, eventually appearing in 212 episodes over 12 seasons from 2003 to 2015. It's interesting to reflect on why Berta resonated so much with audiences. The show already had a comedic trifecta: the carefree Charlie, the neurotic Alan, and the goofy kid Jake. Then along came Berta, a woman who saw through everyone's nonsense, had no qualms about delivering zingers that cut straight to the point, yet somehow exuded a weird maternal energy that made you love her. On the surface, Berta seemed grumpy or cynical, but you got the sense she cared about these boys on a deeper level. That's where Conchata's skill was so important. Comedic lines can fall flat if the performer doesn't root them in genuine warmth. She had that skill in spades. No wonder she got 2 Emmy nominations for Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Comedy Series, 2005, 2007. She didn't win the statue, but she earned a place in countless viewers' hearts around the globe. During the height of 2.5 Men, the show was a juggernaut, hitting around 15 million viewers on average. Conchata became a household name. She wasn't exactly on the cover of tabloids every week, but she was recognized wherever she went. Her punchy lines as Berta turned into pop culture gold, and beyond the fame, it was rumored that she was making quite the comfortable living. Her net worth soared to somewhere in the ballpark of $10 million. Not bad for a West Virginia girl who once took random jobs after dropping out of college. Between the 2.5 Men era and beyond, she still found time for guest starring spots and cameo appearances on various shows: Judging Amy, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Grace and Frankie, the list goes on. There was also The Ranch on Netflix in 2016 to 2017, starring Ashton Kutcher, one of her old 2.5 Men co-stars. If you watched The Ranch, you might have spotted Conchata playing the wisecracking Shirley, making you grin with a warm familiarity. Ah, there's that comedic powerhouse I know. She really knew how to add a spark, even if her screen time was limited. Her film appearances carried on as well. In 2015, she played Aunt Dorothy in Krampus, the holiday-themed horror comedy. Quite a departure from the typical Christmas fare, right? But true to form, Conchata instilled humor in the role, which helped offset the film's creepier elements. She also did some voice acting: Buzz Lightyear of Star Command, 2000, Teen Titans, 2004, and Tim Burton's Frankenweenie, 2012, where she voiced Bob's mom. Voice acting can be tricky. You have no on-screen expressions or body language to rely on, yet her comedic sense still shone brightly through the microphone. She was known to be a person who deeply cared about animal welfare, supported organizations like ASPCA, and aligned herself with the Democratic Party. She was also Catholic, though by her own admission she was the type to practice her faith in a personal, private way. And if you needed an even quirkier piece of trivia, she loved gaming, specifically role-playing games, and apparently bonded over that interest with Angus T. Jones, Jake from 2.5 Men. Picture the two of them hunched over a tabletop RPG after a day on set, rolling dice and trying to outwit a fictional dragon. It's charming and real, typical Conchata. In the final years of her life, though, things took a serious turn, health-wise. In December 2019, she was hospitalized in Charleston, West Virginia with a kidney infection that became severe enough to enter her bloodstream. She spent weeks in ICU, an ordeal that can shake even the strongest. Then in May 2020, she suffered a heart attack, which led to 4 weeks in ICU again. This time, she experienced a cardiac arrest that lasted for about 10 minutes, and though she fought valiantly, she needed a respirator and dialysis afterward. The additional heartbreak came in the form of pandemic restrictions. Hospitals were restricting visitors, meaning she couldn't have her husband and family by her side as much as they would have liked. For a person known for her warmth and social personality, that must have been devastating. Ultimately, her condition didn't improve enough for a full recovery. On October 12, 2020, Conchata Ferrell passed away at Sherman Oaks Hospital in California. She was 77. Her daughter Samantha confirmed the news, while her longtime manager Judith Moss shared that Conchata had always thrived on the happiness acting brought her. The tributes came pouring in from her friends and co-stars. John Cryer talked about her authenticity and big heart. Charlie Sheen called her a true friend, and Chuck Lorre, the creator of 2.5 Men, praised her as one of the greats. Melanie Lynskey, another co-star, highlighted how kind she had been. For someone who played a character often drenched in sarcasm, it's notable that the word kind came up again and again in the memorials. The family made a public request for those who wished to honor Conchata to donate to organizations like the lovelandfoundation.org and ASPCA.org instead of sending flowers, an action that reflected both her philanthropic spirit and the family's understanding that her fans would want to channel their grief into something positive. She was known to be a person who deeply cared about animal welfare, supported organizations like ASPCA, and aligned herself with the Democratic Party. She was also Catholic, though by her own admission, she was the type to practice her faith in a personal, private way. And if you needed an even quirkier piece of trivia, she loved gaming, specifically role-playing games, and apparently bonded over that interest with Angus T. Jones, Jake from 2.5 Men. Picture the two of them hunched over a tabletop RPG after a day on set, rolling dice and trying to outwit a fictional dragon. It's charming and real. Typical Conchata. In the final years of her life, though, things took a serious turn health-wise. In December 2019, she was hospitalized in Charleston, West Virginia, with a kidney infection that became severe enough to enter her bloodstream. She spent weeks in ICU, an ordeal that can shake even the strongest. Then in May 2020, she suffered a heart attack, which led to 4 weeks in ICU again. This time, she experienced a cardiac arrest that lasted for about 10 minutes, and though she fought valiantly, she needed a respirator and dialysis afterward. The additional heartbreak came in the form of pandemic restrictions. Hospitals were restricting visitors, meaning she couldn't have her husband and family by her side as much as they would have liked. For a person known for her warmth and social personality, that must have been devastating. Ultimately, her condition didn't improve enough for a full recovery. On October 12, 2020, Conchata Ferrell passed away at Sherman Oaks Hospital in California. She was 77. Her daughter Samantha confirmed the news, while her longtime manager Judith Moss shared that Conchata had always thrived on the happiness acting brought her. The tributes came pouring in from her friends and co-stars. John Cryer talked about her authenticity and big heart. Charlie Sheen called her a true friend, and Chuck Lorre, the creator of 2.5 Men, praised her as one of the greats. Melanie Lynskey, another co-star, highlighted how kind she had been. For someone who played a character often drenched in sarcasm, it's notable that the word kind came up again and again in the memorials. The family made a public request for those who wished to honor Conchata to donate to organizations like the lovelandfoundation.org and ASPCA.org instead of sending flowers, an action that reflected both her philanthropic spirit and the family's understanding that her fans would want to channel their grief into something positive. In the grand tapestry of Hollywood legends, Conchata Ferrell might not be a name plastered on every marquee, but her impact is indisputable. She was the ultimate character actress who, in many ways, transcended that supporting character label because she anchored scenes with her comedic brio. The comedic fireworks she set off on 2.5 Men alone are enough to ensure her place in sitcom history. And so, whether you're looking at an old black and white promotional photo of her from the 1970s theater days, or you're binge-watching 2.5 Men for the 15th time, it's pretty evident that Conchata Galen Ferrell made her mark by just being real, being hilarious, and showing up to do the work with passion. She was that comedic secret weapon who elevated every show or film she touched, and did it all with a grin and a dash of grit. Even now, think about the last time you watched a Berta scene. Did you laugh at a sarcastic Barb? Did you sense the unspoken care behind her remarks? If so, that's the testament to Conchata Ferrell's gift. Long after the cameras turned off and the sets were struck, her comedic echoes live on, ready to amuse new fans and remind older ones why they fell in love with her in the first place. And if there's one thing you can take away from this story, beyond the comedic lines, the applause, the Emmy nods, it's that being genuine and passionately committed to your craft can open doors to a legacy that outlasts even the most tumultuous times. So here's to Conchata Ferrell, the unstoppable force behind countless witty comebacks, the champion of earnest laughter, and an actress who subtly shaped the comedic landscape of modern television. May her story continue to spark conversation, inspire up-and-coming performers to find their own truths, and remind audiences everywhere that sometimes the best comedic punchlines come from those who understand how to balance humor with heart. And most importantly, may her joyful spirit live on every time someone hits play on an old episode, waiting eagerly for the next moment when Berta, and by extension Conchata, steals the scene with a single well-timed line.